dog sounds? She loved dog sounds.
I have 4 kids, including one with very complex medical needs. Claire has a number of medical conditions that stem from a genetic disorder she was born with. So she has problems with almost every system in her body. Her brain isn't fully formed, her heart's not in the right place. She has problems with her kidneys, her ears, she has seizures, asthma, autism. I could probably write a book about all of the medical problems that she has. At the time she was born, the Affordable Care Act was not in place. It was really scary knowing a lot of her health care would not be covered by insurance.
73% of Americans say the healthcare system is in a state of crisis.
The American healthcare system is broken. It's unlike any other healthcare system in the world. It fails on cost. It costs more than any other system. And it fails on its effectiveness because it ranks somewhere to the bottom of the middle when it comes to infant mortality, longevity, incidence of all kinds of diseases.
The U.S. healthcare sector is generating a lot of the medical innovations that are saving lives, but it is definitely not delivering medical care to patients, particularly the sickest and poorest patients.
If you are a typical American household, your family spent almost $12,000 last year on health care. About 1 in 5 of you, including people with insurance, didn't fill a prescription because you couldn't afford it.
We're firmly middle class, but we could sell our house and spend all of our savings and it still might only buy her, a year, maybe 2.
The U.S. healthcare system is also complex and difficult to navigate.
It's a crazy quilt, fragmented system with different payers and different fees and different rules.
I speak English and I have a good education, and even with all of my advantages, I still wasn't able to navigate the healthcare system to find the best care for Claire.
But is there a way to fix that? Some believe that universal healthcare is the answer.
The first and most important point to me is we have never committed to provide health care for everybody.
I think health care is a basic human right.
Everybody in America is entitled to education, a vote, an impartial judge, and a jury. And those are rights that we have to provide. I feel the same should be said for health care. A system where everybody gets care when they need it is always going to have better outcomes. Because people get treated when they're sick. It's also cheaper.
If you had health insurance, you'd go for a checkup. You wouldn't just wait until there's an emergency. You can go to the emergency room. And the law is that the emergency room, a doctor at least has to look at you. And yet you don't pay for it. The hospitals pay for it by charging patients with insurance much more money than they otherwise would charge.
A, it's the most expensive possible way to provide health care. And B, it's often too late. By the time they get there, we can't save them.
Others argue that a free market system would be the better alternative.
Who is the most important person in the overall healthcare delivery system? The patient. And the best thing for patients is to give them control of their healthcare dollars.
Unfortunately, when the government declares that healthcare is a right, people lose the freedom to choose.
Healthcare is a necessity of life. Just like food and shelter and clothing, government, our employers don't buy food for us or pay for our shelter or our clothing.
So if a right to health care to you means that you want everybody who needs health care to get it, then I think the way to effectuate that is by letting a market system generate the sort of price competition and quality competition that brings health care of ever-increasing value within the reach of an ever-increasing number of people.
But if we accept the alternative, which is more government in our healthcare system, then I'm afraid that that's not going to be effective and that's not going to work.
When the government gets involved in healthcare, it always does so with the best of intentions. But what ends up happening is that people who control the decisions the government makes are the people with the biggest stake in those decisions. And that is always the industry that the government is regulating. So they lobby the government to block those efforts to improve healthcare, and that ends up hurting consumers. It is absolutely urgent that we reform the U.S. healthcare sector.
About 22,000 Americans die every year of treatable diseases because they couldn't see a doctor.
And that's problematic. It's terrifying. If Claire didn't have access to the care she's getting now, it's not an exaggeration to say she she really could die.
People don't choose to be ill. When people are sick and weak and at their most defenseless, it's up to society to look after them.
I feel an obligation to my fellow human beings to care for them when they need help.
It has been and will be a struggle to reform the American healthcare system.
We've seen so many efforts at reform. Everyone agrees that it needs to be reformed, but yet we're still arguing.
But we can't wait any longer. In 2020, we have to make the commitment to repair our broken healthcare system.